ALG Go Juice, will it freeze? Hey guys, my name is Dave Timm. Thank you very much for checking out this video. Today we're going to be talking about the new Go Juice from ALG and specifically looking at its freezing property, or testing its freezing property, I guess, in our kind of non-scientific tundra of Minnesota. Now before we get into ALG Go Juice, if you haven't checked out the other videos, they are on the Learning Firearms channel. There's a part 1 and a part 2, and in those videos we basically took a bunch of different lubricants, threw them outside when it was below zero, and just checked to see if they would freeze or not. It was really more of a curiosity thing than a scientific test. And we got a ton of feedback from that. We got a ton of comments, a lot of requests, you know, try brand X, try brand Y, try this, try that. And I reached out to several manufacturers to get samples, and some of those were included in part 2, and then other times we just didn't hear back, and unfortunately we just don't have the budget to go out and buy every single type of lubricant on the market. However, when I was at SHOT Show this year, I ran into the Geisley ALG booth and I was telling them a little bit about our video series, and they were very interested to see if we could test that because they didn't have a freezer that would go cold enough. So right now it's about -5 or 6 below zero. So it's just under 40 degrees below freezing. So it's below zero, not below freezing Fahrenheit degrees. So it is really cold out, and we typically get that in Minnesota. Now, this test is not necessarily going to be scientific. It's not meant to replicate, a lab or anything like that. And while I would love to have a degreased, stripped bolt carrier group, lubricate it and freeze it outside and on a handgun and all sorts of other stuff, I at this point don't have the means to do it, but it's something I'm trying to look at in the future to see if it's something we can do. So today we're just going to see if the product actually freezes, or if we can get some sort of a visual indication if it changes in viscosity of, basically from room temperature to the freezing temperature. So the two products that we have today are the ALG Go Juice and the ALG Quadruple Zero Very Thin Grease. Now they're both a biosynthetic blend, which means they have some bio, they have some synthetic, and actually Bill Geisley did a video talking about kind of a little bit of the molecular structure. But basically the claims that they are making is that because it's a biosynthetic, it is non-toxic, it doesn't need any toxic or hazmat labels, it doesn't gum like other bio lubrications on the market, and it still repels rust, and it still offers excellent lubrication properties. Now the grease in particular, they claim it has a high level of stenacity, which when I first heard that word I actually was kind of surprised, but then I saw the video where Bill actually made it up. So let me show you the products right now, what they look like at room temperature, and then we will go outside. I actually have about 10 mils of each outside that have been there freezing overnight. So first let's look at the Go Juice. And we'll put some on here too. So as you can see, it's just a light lubricant. It's very thin. It pours. It's a lightweight lubricant. It's not thick at all or anything like that. Clear, has maybe a slight purplish tint or a dark tint to it, but it's just a liquid lubricant, about what you would expect. Now the grease, this Quadruple Zero Very Thin Grease, this lightweight grease, the reality is I don't know if I would call it a grease. When I first think of grease, you think of like a bearing grease or anything like that, and it's of course way thinner than that, hence the Quadruple Zeros. Really is like a gel, and I'll show it to you here quick. So if we put some on here, you can see, and obviously we can see that the oil is pouring right off and the grease is staying present. So there is the grease, it's not moving, it's basically a gel. And the best way I could explain what it feels like, and I'll put some in the cup here too, is it probably is a light grease, but the reality is the consistency when I'm looking at it, and hopefully you guys can see this on camera okay, is it's basically about the consistency of a hair gel, or maybe like an aloe gel that you would put on like a sunburn or something like that. It's real thin. It's not sticky like a traditional grease. It doesn't have that, I don't want to say adhesive, but whatever binding agent a lot of greases use, this does not have that traditional sticky bearing type grease. So it actually feels pretty slick. And you know, it's a very lightweight, thin grease. They're saying that you can use it on bearing surfaces, you can use it maybe on the cam pin area, things like that. So that's what they look like in room temperature. Let me go ahead and bundle up and we'll head outside and see if either one of these products changed in thickness or if they froze. Air temperature is around 8 below zero. I just checked with the thermometer, and I also just confirmed with another thermometer. And obviously a couple spots in the shade are a hair different than a couple spots in the sun, but these are the two samples, and I kept them out here overnight, and the overnight low last night was about 14 below zero. And that's again Fahrenheit. So they definitely had a lot of opportunity to completely freeze. So let's first look at the Go Juice, and you know, it's still a liquid. You can definitely tell that it may have thickened up just a little bit. It's not quite as thin as it was, but it's definitely not frozen by any means. I'm just going to pour some on the plexiglass here, and you can kind of see that it still pours. So it's maybe a hair thicker than it was inside at room temperature, but not frozen at all. Definitely not frozen to the point where I'd be, you know, concerned or anything. No, that looks pretty good. Now let's check out the grease. That looks about the same as well. Maybe thickened up just a hair, you know, from that gel consistency, but the reality is it still feels and looks like a gel to me. So let's put some on the plexiglass there, and yeah, it's not moving or coming off or doing anything really. So that is kind of a unscientific freeze test about the Geissele ALG Go Juice and quadruple zero very light grease. Did not freeze. Let's check the temperatures here real quick. The temperatures of the grease and of the oil, hopefully you guys can see it on camera, but it says -1. And when we first came out here, it was, you know, obviously colder than that, -6, etc. So ALG Go Juice does not freeze. For more information about the product, we'll put a link in the description below. But you know, at this point, I've never known the Geissele family to put out anything that has been subpar, whether it be their triggers, their tools, their rails, and now it appears that they're lubricants. We will test this further with actual use, firearms use. You know, we'll actually get to the range and try it out on some guns. Now, is it going to replace what we're using now? I don't know. It's too early to tell. We literally just got some samples, and the first thing I care about as a Minnesotan is I wanted to see how it at least performs in an unscientific freeze test. So for more information about us, make sure you check us out online, Facebook, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe. The more we grow, the bigger promotions we can do, giveaways, and more products we can review. So literally it means a lot if you like, share, and subscribe, because it can help the channel grow. Thank you guys very much for watching, and have a great day. Stay warm.